Okay, well, looks like we are ready to begin. Well, welcome everyone. It's Stephanie Evelo here with the Evelo team at Keller Realty, and I want to welcome you to our Evelo team's secret tips and tricks to how to buy a home in today's ever-changing market. So. We're just appreciate you being here today, and we hope that you'll be able to take away some ideas of how you might be able to win in this current ever-changing market. And I've got a couple of really awesome special guests. And if you could just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you. I've got two top agents on our team who are just knocking it out there right now, out in the trenches. So go ahead and introduce yourself. Terrence, you want to start?
Yeah, Terrence Perky, been in the real estate business for 6 years with the Evelo team, and yeah, work with all kinds of buyers and sellers and all that good stuff.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, Cole Heberling. I am coming up on my 2-year anniversary being in real estate.
Fantastic. Yeah, you're having an amazing year this year. So we're super excited about it. That's why we asked both of you guys to come here and share with our audience and with our family and friends and clients, because right now we know that everyone's feeling the crunch of what's going on out there in this market, and everybody's hearing all kinds of crazy stories and things. So tell us, if you're on this call today, you may be aware, of course, that it is a seller's market, and that means with this demand, it often puts you in a multiple offer scenario. And so, with prices going up and things having to be, offering over asking and such like that. So, we want to just share here what the Evelo team is doing and what our top agents are doing to help our clients win in this market, and to help our clients get the home that they're dreaming of, right? That it still is out there and it still exists. It's just we got to be a little bit more creative in how we can help our clients get those. So who wants to start? Terrence or Cole, you want to start with just what's the first tip or trick? What could we expect right now in the market?
Well, the market is just absolutely insane. We have like 30 buyers for every single seller. That it makes it tough. So in the past, we would try to sneak in and use different tricks and verbiages to get our offers looked at and then potentially accepted before the market got to see it, especially if they're holding showings. Now it's more so, that everybody knows those tricks and gimmicks. And so, you have to look and find houses that are off market. And the off market opportunities has been, my last probably 4 or 5 transactions out of, 7 or 8. Well, at least part of it was an off market or a house we were looking for a client that we had to, put it on the market before our client even was able to see it. It's the great thing about being with the Evelos and then being in business for 25 years. A lot of times, if we know what houses are coming live because we have an influx of those houses listing every single week. So, we every Tuesday we have our meeting where we all try to auction off a buyer or a seller, and try to connect the dots with somebody just to make a transaction happen. And that's what's been getting us, or me specifically, through this time, is finding off markets and bringing them to my buyers before my buyers um, have to put in an offer against 10 or 15 other offers. It just leaves you overextended and leaves you in a bad compromising position. Most of the values aren't there, so it's tough on market to even buy a property and not be upside down in it for the next 20 years. So, being cautious of how you enter the market and finding off markets help eliminate some of those risks.
Okay, so off-market properties, and so maybe getting with an agent or a team who has access to some off-market properties. So yeah, I think that's obviously one of our team's values, but that would be a tip and trick, no matter who somebody is working with. Making sure it's somebody that can find them some off-market properties and opportunities. So great tip.
Oftentimes with us, it's like we're telling each other what the listing looks like before we even get there, and then as we leave the door, we have pictures and videos, and it's a good chance that house is sold before our feet even touch the ground. Just because we have so many agents on our team looking, and so many agents or so many buyers out there looking with the agents, that most times our properties we can sell top dollar, still get that great market value, still get the $20,000 appraisal guarantees and inspection minimums that leave the sellers protected. You still get all that. You still get the benefits of that, but you also get the benefits of not having a crowd or herd through your property. Not everybody wants that. You want flexibility on closing date, we can get you 2 months. We can get you, different things that are going to make a win-win for you, so that, it's going to be all around a better opportunity.
Yeah, I know one of my most recent closings actually closed last week, and that's it. It was one that literally I was coming to bring to the market, and we ended up with 3 different agents on our own team that looked and showed the property to end up bringing them, top dollar for their home sale, but also then one of our team buyers got to win versus out there trying to compete with, maybe 30 other buyers on a property. So yeah, awesome opportunities.
Internal.
Yeah. So Cole, what's a tip or trick that you could share that could help someone that's out there looking right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Terrence used some verbiage in there that I just kind of want to use as well, and just explain a little bit about what that means, because a lot of times, like I said, it's a fast-paced process right now, and buyers are kind of left and sometimes an uncomfortable position if everything's not explained to them. So number one, working with our agents, we're all out there, and we're calling, and we're making sure that whatever offer that we're submitting for you is the right offer. That they're sellers and they've got needs that they want met, and so every offer is going to look a little bit different. There's not just a set template that we're using right now of 45-day close and X amount down and this, that, and the other. It's every seller values something a little bit different. Maybe that's post possession, where they get to stay in the house for a week while they move. Maybe that's a faster possession. Maybe they need to wait for their house to be built. There's everything's a little bit different. And so the first thing that we're doing for you guys as the buyer is we're hopping on the phone and we're figuring out exactly what that seller needs. And so that way you're comfortable with the offer. And then we're talking through all those other pieces as well. The first thing I do and that for my buyers is submit a large earnest money deposit. And so you're putting a lot of people just put 1% of their down payment down up front as just kind of a good faith deposit to show the seller that you're a serious buyer. And that's just a percentage of your down payment, like I said, that just gets credited to you back at closing. So it's not like you're putting anything extra down, but if you love the house, you want to make sure the seller knows that how much you value that. So increasing that from 1% to maybe 2% or 1.5%, just to kind of make your offer stand out even at first. A couple other things that Terrence talked about were appraisal gap language, and then inspection language as well. So appraisal gap language is just, obviously if you're going to offer over the list price, there's a chance that if you're getting a loan, that the loan won't cover that full amount. And so right now, most offers are including a set dollar amount that the buyer is willing to cover to make up some difference. So say you buy a $250,000 house, but it only appraises at $230,000. There's $20,000 in there that are, the seller wants to be sure that they're not going to have to sell it for $20,000 less. So you may say, hey, I'll bring $10,000, and you'll set that standard up front. You'll never have to pay more than the purchase price, but it lets the seller know that, hey, if we are to run into an appraisal issue, I'm willing to work with you. This is the amount I'm willing to bring. And then the other thing that we talked about is inspection items. And so sellers want to know in this market that they're not going to be nickel and dimed for every small thing in there. And so you may say that you're not going to ask the seller to make repairs that cost less than $1,000. I've seen people say they're not going to request repairs that cost less than $10,000, which essentially means unless there's something catastrophic with the house, you don't have to fix anything, and I'm just going to buy it. I'll make all the fixes myself. Just little things you can do like that people are doing right now to make your offer stand out.
And the biggest thing is just having the conversation up front with the agent and to make sure that you're putting what they want on the table. If you ask your agent or persons if if they call and ask what it takes and they say no, you're never going to win. You're not going to blindlessly win at something you have to extend yourself on, or you're going to have to fully extend yourself in every category. You can strategically extend yourself to limit your liability and your risk, but still get an asset that you want. You just have to understand where you're pushing yourself and where you should not be pushing yourself. And understanding that, sometimes helps us win out when there's 10, 15 offers. And then the buyers win too, because they don't have to overextend themselves in areas that they were uncomfortable being extended in, but we extended them in areas that they were perfectly comfortable in. And so, it just creates a win-win. At times the buyer will give the sellers exactly what they want, and it could be less than what they're even prepared to do. So that's a good reason to have that conversation up front.
I worked with Terrence a lot in my first year, and he said something with me or something to me early that stuck with me, and I've used it ever since. And we were just talking to some buyers, and he just asked them, at what point are you going to be okay with losing the house? And so you may get into that scenario right now where you offer $250,000 on a house, and someone offered 251, and you lost it. Are you going to be okay with that? And if the answer is yes, then you found where you're comfortable at. But you need to be comfortable with whatever offer you submit. It's like, yeah, taking into consideration all the things that we tell you are important based on our conversation with the listing agent. Where can you stretch, and how far do you want to stretch to where you say, hey, if I didn't get this offer, then that's fine with me, because I know for a fact that I was overextended. What we want to avoid is that comes back and we tell you, hey, it sold for 251, and now you're upset because I would have gone to 252. So you need to start thinking, through that process, as well as the buyer, of what am I really willing to do here? We're no longer in the market of just saying, let's submit an offer, let's see if we can get them to take this one, but really we'd go higher, because if they've got 10 offers, they're not going to give you a counter. They're just going to take the one that's better.
And that's also the difference in having a good agent, because a good agent's going to, somebody you can trust that you can brainstorm with and figure out where your pressure points are without feeling like somebody's just trying to sell you something and take advantage of you. That's why you need an honest, good, ethical agent, because they need to know where you're at. Because, the reason why I can give Cole that example is because I've had clients that went $20,000 over and stopped, because I didn't ask them what their real stopping point was. And there is some risk and fear of telling somebody what their stopping point is, because you're fearful that that they're going to push that boundary. But no, our job is to protect your money, and if we know where you're at, we can protect it and stay way in front of it as well. And so, I had a client that maybe went 20 over, but they would have went 30 over, but they didn't know. I've also had a client that I was negotiating hard for, and I kind of heard him go, and I'm like, what was that? And he was like, well, I appreciate everything you're doing. I love the fact you keep on saving me money. He says, but we are ready to make this move, and we're ready to commit to a house, and we're ready. I'm like, hey, okay, no problem. I'll stop. If you want to sign this offer right now, even though we can get more money off, but it's going to give you comfort, I am okay with that. And so it's about having that on both sides, because some people are going to want you to push harder and some people are going to want you to pull back. A good agent can figure that out exactly where they should be and take you there and accomplish what you want to get accomplished. And then you can make the decision on if you want to extend yourself into the position of what it takes to get the house under contract. As long as you know what it takes, then you can make a educated decision on why you're choosing to buy it or why you're choosing not to. And that's what a good agent's going to do in these processes, in these hard processes.
Yeah, well, I think a good tool to, once we get into that as well, is the escalation clause. And maybe, some of you guys are familiar with this, and maybe you've used it in the past or not, but now we're especially seeing them in a lot of cases today that people are wanting to use that because they're not wanting to overextend themselves. And so on a lot of offers, you are seeing escalation clauses. And essentially what that means is you as the buyer, you're saying, this is my offer that I think is a fair offer. If there's something that comes in above, what I have offered, I'm willing to go up. And so you may say, my offer is 250, but I'm willing to go to 260 if there's another offer, that comes in that's above my $250,000 offer. And so that's something that, is sometimes appropriate, sometimes it's not. It depends on the situation. Sometimes the listing agents don't don't like to see them, and sometimes they do. So again, there's, agents have different preferences, and we'll do our best to figure out, what your best strategy should be as well. But just another tool that you can use.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point, Cole, because yes, some agents are very familiar with escalation clauses. I know our team has been using them for a couple of years now, and really, of course, more recently with all the multiple offer situations. But some agents out there have never used them and they're not familiar with them. And so then even if we submit one, you got to make sure that the agent on the other side is familiar with it, right? And so sometimes that agent that other sellers are hiring isn't really representing their own client's best interest, right? Because then they say that they won't take an escalation clause, even though that might be in their seller's best interest, right? So yeah, I think it's really just very, very important point about hiring the right agent who is familiar with all of the different options and all of the different opportunities for them, whether it is buying or selling, right? Because on the selling side, they might be losing money and leaving some money on the table because their agent isn't familiar with some of the, some of the paperwork and some of the items that are available to them. So awesome. Any other tips or tricks? Anything else, man? I actually jotted down here a list. I'm going to go through the list, but any other little tips or tricks? Anything else that you all want to share? Any others?
The biggest trick is making sure you have somebody who knows all of the tricks, because you can't
right.
You can't write it all down because it changes in the moment. If you have somebody who's good at negotiating strategy and that can protect you, you can find out what it takes in these moments without overextending it yourself or your clients.
Yeah, and I know we've had that discussion in our own team meetings, right? About just at what point does it make sense or not make sense in encouraging someone and what they're paying, but really it's different in every scenario, right? It's different in their scenario, whether they're here local, moving from out of town, state, their reason for moving. Sometimes it's a divorce situation, they have to move. So yeah, every different scenario is completely different. Well, I'm just going to literally read through this super quickly. But it was just, I heard different things like as is addendums, increased price, off market properties, earnest money increase, appraisal gaps, inspection waivers, closing and possession adjustments, escalation clauses, agents that you could trust, agent that knows the market, and an agent who protects you and your interests. So lots.
Addendums are good for buyers but terrible for sellers. Just know
that. Yeah. So this list obviously is not all inclusive, but this was a major list, and I would fear the person who is going out there to try to navigate this on their own, right? That's where I don't know about you, but there's a lot of language and a lot of terms and terminology there that I think that, yes, buyers and sellers need to be familiar with and aware of to go out there and navigate in this crazy market that we're in right now. We've been doing this, the Evelo team has been in existence for over almost 25 years now. And we've never seen it like this, right? And I know that both of you are very experienced and top rated here in our local market and in the industry. Yet y'all have never seen and experienced this, right? So it's a fun time that we're living in these days. Well, any other last tips or tricks, or any other last comments before we close up?
Cool.
Got nothing.
Okay. Well, we just want to thank everyone for joining us today. We wanted this to just be short and sweet, to the point, and hopefully give everyone a little bit of insight to how we might be able to help them in actually navigating this to get the right home and to get their offer accepted in today's market. And if you have any questions about buying a home or selling a home, you can always reach us at our team office, 317-863-9011, and you can email info@eveloteam.com, and we can get you in contact with Terrence or Cole, or any other agent. If you've been in contact with any one of our other agents already, we can get you in contact with them as well. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much, Terrence and Cole, for sharing your tips and tricks. I know you guys are knocking it out there right now in the marketplace, so we appreciate you sharing and sharing your time and talent today with not only those listening right now, but those that will hear this information in the future. So thanks, guys. And remember, as always, make each moment count. Bye-bye.